Hi, I'm Stacy Keach. Join me right now for Mysterious Places as we travel to the Campania region of Italy.
The date, August 24th. The year, 79 AD. The place, the Bay of Naples, Italy. A sleeping giant erupts. Two legendary cities meet their fate as their citizens meet a gruesome end. It would be nearly 2,000 years before anyone would walk these streets again. Streets, a city, a people, frozen in the throes of death.
It is magical to be able to go back in history 2,000 years and literally walk in where it stopped.
This is the story of Mount Vesuvius and the two towns and the thousands of lives that vanished in its fury. Herculaneum and Pompeii.
It was a horrible black cloud, ripped by sudden bursts of fire, writhing snake-like and revealing sudden flashes larger than lightning. These are the words of Pliny, a Roman teenager. His is the only known eyewitness account of one of history's most infamous cataclysms. For over 1,500 years, historians had no other evidence of the fate of Pompeii and Herculaneum. Then in the 16th century, the remarkable discovery was made. The two cities had, in a sense, not been destroyed at all.
Mount Vesuvius. Its force casts a dark shadow over the Campania region of Italy, over its land, over its history. Despite a threatening presence and notorious past, this volcano now lies dormant. You can safely explore her craters. Cities and towns live peacefully in her shadow. Pompeii. Herculaneum. But Vesuvius hasn't always been so benevolent. Once in ancient times, she unleashed her fury on the surrounding area. An eruption so sudden, so violent, that entire cities were engulfed in a few short hours. Buried in ashes and lava, Pompeii and Herculaneum were lost to the world for almost 2,000 years before being rediscovered. Today, they are among the world's most important and mysterious archaeological treasures, cities literally frozen in time. And so to unravel the remarkable story of these cities, you must travel to the modern town of Pompeii, approximately 20 miles southeast of the city of Naples. Today, the ruins of the ancient city of Pompeii rest on a hillside above the modern-day city. For visitors as well as archaeologists, the ruins speak to us of ancient life and death. Walking through Pompeii today, you can see clues to the ancient past with every step. Houses, sculptures, wall paintings, and remarkably, even political graffiti give us a glimpse of life nearly 2,000 years ago. Life as it was lived in the shadow of Vesuvius in 79 AD. At the moment when day became night. James Franklin is professor of classical studies at the American University in Rome.
On the morning of the 24th of August, essentially, Mount Vesuvius, the whole top of that mountain just blew off and disintegrated. And those pellets blew up in the air, some of them as much as about 5 miles directly up, that over the course of the day and then later eruptions, about 18 feet of these pellets, and then dust also came down. And there were, of course, big thunderstorms with the eruption, and the dust then, when it got wet, settled in and dried.
Caught unaware, the people of Pompeii tried to flee, but to no avail. Within 3 hours, this splendid city was buried in ash. Its citizens burned and suffocated. Life stopped in that instant. For centuries, Pompeii lay silent and forgotten, buried under tons of ash. Until the mid-18th century, workers digging an underground canal made a startling discovery. The city, lost centuries before, had been found and remarkably intact. For archaeologists and other experts, it was the discovery of a lifetime.
Pompeii is the only place, because of the way it was preserved, that you can walk right into ordinary life. There's nothing like it. You literally walk into a house the way it was. The furniture is still there. The wall paintings are still there. There are bowls of eggs. There are bowls of fruit still over at the side.
This is how the citizens of Pompeii looked at the moment of death, their images frozen forever as they suffocated in ash. Through a unique process, archaeologists have been able to create these eerie plaster casts of the dead. The process is surprisingly simple. The ashes surrounding Pompeii's dead quickly harden. As the bodies of the dead deteriorated, they left behind a human mold, a cavity with a human form. During excavations, archaeologists poured plaster into these molds. The result? Still life sculptures capturing Pompeii's final agonizing moments. Only when you come to Pompeii and look into their faces will you understand the horror they endured at death.
Very often they're in terrible positions. Some of them are hiding their face because they're trying to ward off the pellets and the dust, and maybe even gases. Others are in terrible contorted positions. And mostly that's not because they died in agony, it's because the only way they could move was to try to swim.
The story of Pompeii's destruction is an incredible tale, a very human tale. Yet, for scholars, Pompeii is more than an ancient city lost. It is a wealth of knowledge found, a discovery that provides us a rare glimpse into antiquity.
Stay with us as we continue our investigation of Pompeii, lost city found.
Here's a mysterious places travel tip. The Campania region of Italy is served by the Naples airport just 5 miles north of Naples. It handles both domestic and international flights. After exploring the ruins of Pompeii, visitors can travel from the Bay of Naples by ferry to the resort island of Capri.
We're back in Italy at Pompeii and Herculaneum.
Few civilizations could match the grandeur of ancient Rome. Today, the city of Rome contains some of the world's most magnificent ruins, remains of a society which had a legendary influence on world history and politics. Yet, ironically, the most vivid portrait of ancient Roman civilization is found not in Rome, but in Pompeii.
If you're here in Rome, you can look at very famous remains of buildings, but you can't get into the daily life of people, and you can't go have a drink at the bar. Pompeii is the only place, because of the way it was preserved, that you can walk right into ordinary life.
Pompeii was once a wealthy town. The very rich lived a life of luxury in elaborate homes like the 90-room house of Vetti. Owned by two affluent merchants, the House of Vetti speaks to us of the luxurious lifestyles enjoyed by Pompeii's wealthiest citizens. Lead pipes are just one example of the luxury enjoyed by the merchants. A private temple bears witness to the importance of religious ritual. And beautiful paintings drape the walls of the dining room. You can wonder at the beauty of these murals even today. They serve as an inspiration to tourists and artists alike. Once a wealthy resort town, Pompeii was almost completely destroyed by an earthquake in 62 AD. In the 17 years before its total destruction by Vesuvius, the city struggled to rebuild itself. Many of the wealthier citizens left to be replaced by a more working-class society. Here you will find modest homes connected to small shops. During its height, Pompeii bustled with activity. The Forum served as the heart of political and religious life.
It's a small town, and all of the major things in that town happened in the Forum. There's a big marketplace. There's the temple of the Capitoline Triad. There's the big temple of Apollo. And there are city office buildings, all of that around the Forum, because it's a real forum that functioned on a daily basis. It's the marketplace, it's city government, it's religious cult, all in one at Pompeii.
Here, as elsewhere in the city, you can imagine crowds of workers conducting business, traders, craftsmen, and bakers. Slaves and donkeys turned these millstones to make the dough, which was then kneaded and baked in elaborate brick ovens. Ovens not unlike some in use today. As you explore Pompeii today, it becomes more than just a place to study and learn about our past. It takes form as a city once full of life, a city of people with wants and needs like any people of any time. After the earthquake in 62 AD, many transient workers flocked to the city to help rebuild. Far from home, they sought comfort in the dark recesses of the city. At Pompeii, the lupanaria, or brothels, flourished.
We have at Pompeii a number of small rooms which are decorated with erotic paintings, and were obviously rooms in which you went for sexual activities, fun, lovemaking. And if you collected all of the obscenities in Pompeii, you'd have quite a large book. Sexuality was taken as a much more open, ordinary part of life than it is in our society.
Pompeii's mansions, bakeries, and brothels were all destroyed in a few short hours. But it wasn't the only city annihilated by Vesuvius on that fateful day. Pompeii had a sister city that met the same horrible fate. Herculaneum, a busy, prosperous town on the Bay of Naples. Here in the marketplace, peddlers sell goods from the bounty of land and sea. Historically, the city's location has been a blessing and a curse. Herculaneum was built just 4 miles from Mount Vesuvius in order to catch the water flowing down its slopes. But in 79 AD, what flowed from these slopes was not the water of life, but a hot, molten death. Like its sister city, Pompeii, located on the other side of Vesuvius, Herculaneum was totally destroyed. But unlike Pompeii, which was buried under 18 feet of ash, Herculaneum was buried under volcanic deposits 60 feet deep. Though much of the city still remains buried, those sections which have been excavated are better preserved than anything in Pompeii. Because here, hot liquids seal the city in a thick protective coat. As James Franklin and other researchers have discovered, life in Herculaneum was somewhat different from that in Pompeii.
Herculaneum was a very wealthy little town built along the road from Naples down to Pompeii. And it gives a very major impression of being something like a resort town and very, very wealthy. The houses there tend to be oriented toward the sea. Pompeii is a working class, real city where people slaved, worked, and made livings.
Herculaneum was a luxury suburb for the aristocracy, a quiet place to escape from the heat and noise of the cities. It was a very desirable address. Even the mad Emperor Caligula was said to own a villa here. Great attention was paid to every detail. Time was spent eating, meeting, and relaxing in exquisite villas of marble and bronze. In the Roman baths, patrons immersed themselves in cold pools, hot baths, and steam. Visitors and residents alike enjoyed this daily ritual.
They're sort of like airports and train stations of today, that you try to make your bath complex, which anybody who comes to town is going to visit, as elegant and as refined as you possibly can.
Even in 79 AD, the Romans had central heating. Hot air passed under the floors and through the walls to keep the patrons warm. But a Roman bath was much more than a way to keep clean.
You spend most of your afternoon at the baths, and that is a very, very social activity.
In Herculaneum, even the middle class lived like royalty. This magnificent mosaic of Neptune and Jupiter decorates a summer dining room. Undamaged, the colors still vibrant, it is hard to believe the artist's hands created this nearly 2,000 years ago. Herculaneum and Pompeii, two cities that suffered a horrific death. The cause of the apocalypse lies only a short ride away. Today it's hard to imagine Vesuvius as anything but a picturesque mountain. Giant craters and lava flows are the only indication that this was once a violent beast. And so, Rising in the haze behind modern Pompeii and Herculaneum, Vesuvius stands as a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the impermanence of all things. Yet, in the devastated cities in her shadow, we uncover not only death and destruction, but windows to the past. We uncover evidence of a world similar to our own, of a people like us. And we feel a strange bond with those who did not live to tell.
Excavations continue at both Pompeii and Herculaneum, with new artifacts being discovered every day. Many of our questions have been answered. Still, after almost 2,000 years, Pompeii and Herculaneum hold mysteries yet to be uncovered. Until next time, I'm Stacy Keach for Mysterious Places.
Mysterious Places travel provided by Trans World Airlines.